Thanks for checking in the Pivoting to Web3 podcast. Go to pivotingtoweb3podcast.com to download and listen, or Web3 Game Plan to check out the videos. Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to Pivoting to Web3 podcast. And today we have Kofi Annan. Now, Kofi was episode, I think, 38, and we decided to have him back because he's doing some fabulous things with his expertise. You may not remember, so let me remind you. He has worked with Mercedes Benz, Puma, Saatchi and Ogilvy, and he's also spoken at South by Southwest. He's been at Harvard, Columbia University. I mean, this is the Brand Sensei for sure. But let me not speak any further. Let me introduce you to Kofi Annan. Kofi, say hello to your audience and ours, and let us know what's happening with you today and why you wanted to be back on Pivoting to Web3 with all the information and technology and transformation that you've been doing and trying to help brands and nonprofits and solopreneurs moving forward. Say hello and what's going on now.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you. Thank you so much for another wonderful introduction. And I'm glad to be back here on the Pivoting to Web3 podcast. I had so much fun last time, and I really was able to connect with you and a lot of your audience and really even understand some of the things that I didn't know in the Web3 as I kind of engage with your audience. But yeah, to that point, I've always been a technologist and a strategist. As you mentioned, I've worked in marketing primarily for most of my career, marketing as a focus, but it really has been marketing supported by technology. And as we moved through, in the early days of, just HTML and the .com, to social, to mobile, and then obviously, what we're really all engaged with right now is AI. As we move through all those different technological advancements, my experience and how I've really approached it has really been in the context of how can this technology help brands build their visibility, grow their visibility, and then also connect more authentically with their customers and clients, so that it could generate that revenue. Because at the end of the day, companies are really focused on that growth and that customer engagement. And the technologies, luckily for us and luckily for you and I, really allow them to do so much more with so much less and so much more efficiently. And I could definitely share some examples of how I've seen that happen. But it's an exciting time to be in this space where the technology is advancing so much, and so much of it is so accessible. And that's really where I come in to kind of help companies understand how to use them and where to use them more effectively.
Well, I do have something in the back of my mind that I want some more information on. I saw in the past week you were talking about some new type of AI or chat GPT, or there was something that you discovered. It sounded like it was new. I didn't know about it. I think quite a few of us on LinkedIn that didn't know about it. Can you share that again? I was kind of
Sure.
in that swipe mode real quick, and I kind of missed it a little bit, but I stayed long enough to know, oh, I got to talk to Kofi about this. So what's happening with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's really what I've really been spending on my time on in the past, year and a half, like a lot of folks, is understanding how AI can be used, can be leveraged, and all the changes that's happening. It's, to your point, there's so much going on. Sometimes you're swiping through, it's a new news item be coming through. But I spent a lot of my time trying to, again, keeping up with that and dissecting that. But more recently, there have really been two developments that really affected how I see development of AI and the ability for it to affect and grow brands. The first one was, we all know ChatGPT, and that they really blew the doors open as far as AI, accessible AI for companies. They really blew the door open there, and they've been going well. And they've got a lot of challenges. You have Perplexity, you have, even Google, you have a lot. Meta is also developing their AI, generated AI capabilities. So they have a lot of competition. But really, I would say OpenAI and ChatGPT have really been setting the standard. A couple of weeks ago, they finally released, it was a really huge move. They released what's called Search GPT. Previously, when you were using ChatGPT was really only trained up to a certain day and time. So a lot of the data that was in ChatGPT that people were able to access was really dated. So you really didn't have that real-time information, that real-time analysis and information unless you, as the user, uploaded that. So that was a big hurdle for ChatGPT as far as accuracy. But as innovative as they are, they released the Search GPT feature, which essentially right now is just for paid ChatGPT users and enterprise. But essentially, it opens up the door for within the ChatGPT interface for you to actually query, do almost like a Google search. So you're able to in your prompts and in your discussion and in your analysis, you're able to access real-time information. So think news stories, you think, even search information, you think social media information, all the same things that you're used to going to Google and kind of typing in these keywords. Now, all that's being pulled, most of it is being pulled into ChatGPT. And that puts them square in competition with Google, because we all know, the term Google is a thing. You go in Google and that's where you find your information. But right now, ChatGPT is a direct competitor with the release of that feature to Google. And one advantage of that is that they've already got the leverage as it relates to the AI and being personalizing the information that people are inputting and getting out of it. So you add that search feature, and boom, it's a whole new world and a whole new opportunity for companies.
So with that said, with the ChatGPT, the new feature, all your experience that you've had with these major brands, how does AI and the technology today help the engagement or the personalization or the experience with the customer? What are they doing today, or what do you wish you had in technology before that's here now that might have saved you some time, made you more money, and made life a lot easier when you were doing a lot of brand and advertising and out there in the big game?
Yeah. I mean, that one of the reasons why I'm so excited is that, I've been wishing for these abilities for many years. I remember one it's probably about maybe 10 or more years ago, I was actually working with Party City, which is the kind of the retailer that sells a lot of party supplies, here in the US. They're all over, they have their retail stores. And at the time when I was working with them, they were actually they were trying to enhance their e-commerce. So like really kind of trying to build up their online accessibility for all their information and their products and SKUs, and allowing people to buy and all that. So it's an exciting time for them. But a huge hurdle for all of that was they have millions of products, right? I mean, they're a huge store. So they have millions of products. So the big problem was, how do you get all those millions of products? How do you inventory all of those, but then also take that information and put it online so that it's seamless for the user? Someone can just go. Now we're used to it where you could just go online and you kind of pick one of this, two of these. You could cross-reference different kinds of if you're having my son had a Ninjago party some years ago when he was younger. Ninjago is a kids animated series. And you're able to go as a parent and you say, oh, I want a Ninjago party, so I want Ninjago, plates, yada yada yada, and put all this together and buy. So, those of us who've been around for a while, that previously you'd have to go into somewhere like Party City and you'll have to walk all the aisles and get all those different things. So obviously with online, they wanted to take that whole experience and make it more accessible for people so that you don't have to go to a physical store. But none of that information was put together in a way that made it easy to deliver that product online. So we spent a good probably about 3, 4, 5 months just categorizing everything literally in the warehouse. I was the person, I was part of the team that was trying to digitize that whole thing. So we would physically go into a warehouse, look on the shelves, say, okay, this is a Batman, this is a Batman thing, take pictures, we'll write it down. You can imagine, and all that inventory that, take it back, would have to create, group them, put them, type them all into the computer. Very labor intensive. high cost, large team. We got it done, but it took a very long time. Fast forward to today, one of the things that I'm thinking about is that had we had the advances of AI with photo recognition and voice recognition and image recognition and inputs, a lot of that would have taken so much shorter. We might not even have had to go into the the warehouse. We might have just had a camera that you could just take a picture of something. It would digitize that and say, okay, this is a Batman costume, this is a Batman plate, and it would make our jobs and my job so much easier to just, okay, create a category that's called Batman stuff, right, and put that online. And that's where we've really come. The efficiency of doing that manual labor really allows companies now to not spend as much time and energy on a lot of that manual labor, but really the expertise of the people that, like myself, who understand the product, understand the strategy, understand where the brand needs to be. We can spend a lot more time really crafting that roadmap, crafting that strategy. And as long as we know what technologies we're using and how to leverage them, we could really accelerate what we're doing. And that's what makes this day so much better. And even more importantly, that's accessible to smaller brands. And you don't have to have the big budget like Party City or Puma or even Bayer which I worked with some years ago. So it's an exciting time to be, if you know what you're doing and if you have the right strategies.
So you walked right into my next question as you kept talking. So if you know what you're doing, there's probably some people in the audience that are new to the game of solopreneurship or transitioning out of corporate, and they're used to having a brand department, advertising, and all the support. And now they got to do their brand.
Mm-hmm.
How do you explain to an entrepreneur or an owner, founder, what is a brand and what does it encompass? How do they look at this for themselves? And what does the brand do? Why is it so important? Always hearing brand, brand, brand.
Mm-hmm.
So why is that like that?
Well, I mean, the idea of a brand, I mean, has evolved over the years. But, put simply, a brand is what others think of you, right? So it's not what you say, it's not brand, it's not a message and all that. I mean, it's part of that. That's how you put it out there in the world. But at the end of the day, is the perception of what your company or what your project or what your initiative, or if it's a personal brand, who you are. So, what are the values? What are characteristics? So you take a famous brand like Nike. If you take away the word Nike, I'm sure even Donna, you could think of, okay, what is the Nike brand?
Swoosh.
Athleticism, swoosh, exactly. It's the swoosh, like, so that's both a word, but then also kind of like a feeling and an expression, audible. It's Nike is primarily from a logo perspective, black and white. They have some colors. It's about athleticism. So again, it's more than just the word Nike or even the check mark, right? It's about what they've spent years and years putting behind that, the way how they've connected with people in different environments, how they've sponsored different events, how they create the shoes, how their ads even paint a picture of the environment and the emotions that you get from that brand, from Nike. So a brand, at the end of the day, it sounds really complicated, but really it's how people see you, how they experience you, and how they really access you from a revenue perspective. Really, it's all part of building your brand. And in today's world, there's more than enough choice for in any category, whether it be B2B or B2C. In today's world, there's so much choice for consumers, that your brand really has to stand out and it really has to stand for something. And so that's what makes it so much more important in today's world.
So when you look in today's world with all the advancements in technology, you got AI, you have the different types of AI, with the different functionalities, the capabilities, the engagement experiences, and you have also a lot of the Web3, which you go into the blockchain. There's that intersection for security, read, write, verify, trust, and all the different opportunities that are available to us. When you look at everything in totality, what would you say are the most important steps, the first 3 or 5 steps that one should look at as they try to create their brand? Or is that something they need a professional for? Is that where you step
Yeah,
in?
I mean, there's
How does that work? How far can someone really go with all this AI? When do they contact you? When do they get an advertising agency? When do they just say, let me just have an avatar, let me pick me some colors and keep it moving? But
yeah.
when you bring in the artwork, is there a way to communicate to those that are listening that are trying to figure it out and say, okay, so I know I want to do this and I want to do that. I guess it's time to create my brand, or I know it must be
Mhm.
time for me to really nail down who I'm talking to. How does all that piece work together?
Yeah. Yeah,
Like,
no,
how did
that's a
Mercedes
great
Benz
question.
become Mercedes Benz and Puma and all these places you worked? How did that brand get so good? How does a little guy like us get our
Mhm.
brand out there? That's my question.
Yeah. No, it's a great question, and it's a question I love answering and talking about because it isn't as straightforward, but I'll give you exactly what works. Again, regardless of how much budget you have or how big your company is, how long you've been
Mhm.
around. Um, to create a brand, first you have to start with yourself. So if you're a smaller company, you as an individual, you and your partners, all essentially what brought you to wants to create this product or put this idea out there, right?
Mhm.
Because at the end of the day, that's what's going to sustain it. So what is your why? Why are you doing this, and how are you hoping to change the world, right? Because at the end of the day, it really does come back to that. So once you identify that, you start internally. What are you about? What are you trying to do out in the world? Then it's also about, okay, who are the people, the audiences, the clients, the customers that you need to interact with? Who are the people who need that solution, right? So you understand who you are, you understand who the
Mhm.
people are. So at the nexus of, if you have a Venn diagram, at the nexus of that is the brand. So meaning, okay, so now that you know who you are, now that you know the people that you want to interact with, so how do you do that? What are the things that help them, again, go into the Nike because it's popular? How will they be able to recognize you as that solution? So in the Nike case, it's the swoosh, right? Or it's the way
Mhm.
the words, or maybe they put something that's kind of sports related. Again, these are kind of the visual signals of so someone could say, hey, I want to do that fast thing, that just do it thing. Yes, that is the company that is associated with that just do it thing, and that's what I need in my life. So you start putting together these, both the visuals, as we talk about the switch and stuff, the messaging, right? Because you also have to speak their language. So just do it was really popular because it really spoke to what people were feeling and what people wanted to accomplish, right? So the messaging, so the images, the words, but then even more importantly today, the experience around where you're going to meet them and how you're going to interact with them. So if you're meeting them online, how accessible are you? Is there a wait list? Can they just directly message you? Can they not message you? So again, it's the imagery, it's the words, but then the environment. So where are they engaging with you? Twitter versus Reddit, for instance, right? Is that where your audience is? So, and you have to create that. So all that really comes into the brand. Now, it's a lot of work. It's not something that you could do in 10 minutes. And sure, you could certainly query AI ChatGPT and say, hey, this is what I do. This is whatever. Give me a brand roadmap or tell me what to do. That's the shortcut. Most times it's inaccurate because at the end of the day, ChatGPT is general. It doesn't know you, so it could give you a generalized things that you could do, but it's going to be missing that spark, that the uniqueness that you bring individually or as a team. So with today's technology, you could definitely have a head start in looking in pulling the initial information into ChatGPT and then getting something that says, oh, these are the kinds of things that you should be looking at. But I would say that you would definitely need someone like myself or, someone else who's worked in this space to really help you so that you don't get confused as to where you need to spend your time, money, and energy to create that brand. because there are a lot of choices, and you have to find something that's unique to you. And that takes a lot of deep diving in conversations and analysis and testing, which is something that I do with my clients. Like, I really kind of dive deep into into what they're about and what they're trying to bring and what their customers are looking for. So
some of those AIs that are out there, or bots, people are feeding
mhm,
bots with their background and their
mhm.
product and all their information. That would be a way to go if you didn't want to utilize a agency, or you
You
would
you
bootstrap
could.
in a company or a project.
If
And
you
would
have
that be helpful if you had it kind of corner off, it was secure and it kind of knew who you were, you've been using it over time, and then you start doing the branding? How does that, do you know how that might work out?
so there's creating the brand, which is like what I just talked about, which is kind of putting the pieces together so you
Mhm.
can say this is my brand. And there's the branding, right? And I separate this two, because the creation of, what I just talked about, the imagery, the words, the environments, making those decisions, which are kind of like the strategies, is different from how you actually execute on that, right? So there are AI tools, and I talk to a lot of different people, and a lot of them are just go to ChatGPT and start using ChatGPT. If you wanted to get from point A to point B driving, you don't just get into any random car, right? Depends on how fast
No,
you
I
want to go.
don't.
Exactly, right? Like we're used to, if we have the choice, we're selective about what we're choosing for the task, right? You might want a Ferrari, or maybe you've gone so far that you need a train ticket, again, all those kind
Mhm.
of decisions. And I say that to bring that back to what the ChatGPT thing, where a lot of people, if we could say ChatGPT was a Mercedes Benz, they just always want to choose a Mercedes Benz. But sometimes that's not the right tool for what they're trying to do. So there are a number of different tools that people could use, both for the creation of the brand. So to your point, kind of creating the visuals and the colors. If you have that sensibility of color and messaging, it's good to kind of start and get something on paper. I would say, again, always have someone with expertise kind of bump that, uh, audit that for you, and give you some pointers. But you could definitely put a lot. ChatGPT, for instance, could help you put some of those, and even DALI, which is the visual part of that's associated with OpenAI, could give you some visuals around that. So you could definitely create that. And then you have a whole nother set of tools, AI enabled tools that allow you to do the branding. So there might be a tool like Perplexity that will allow you to find some articles that you could kind of riff on, so that you could bring in your personality into the world. There are a ton, pretty much most of the major social media tools now have some AI components and capabilities built in. So, depending on which one you have. So AI really spans the gamut of brand creation, brand development, but you just really have to be cautious of the tools that you're using and what you're trying to get out of them. And that's definitely something that I work with my clients to kind of choose the right tools, but then and also get the right outputs out of them.
So, what concerns you? Have you seen anything that really concerns you with AI as you've been working on it
Yes.
on the brand side? What concerns you? What do you worry about? What do you see?
Yes. The One of the main things that concerns me is, just like a lot of technologies, and AI is actually more so. There are a lot of brands, big brands and small brands, that are just jumping in with both feet, and they're trying to automate and just you know create stuff, right? Because it's pretty these days, you know, creating visual content and creating any kind of content is pretty much a commodity, right? Like, you don't have to have an idea. You could go out and create a video, image, text. You could create pretty much any idea that you come up with. You could create it in 2 seconds with all these different AI tools, right? The good part about that is that you're able to create things. But just like any tool that's so powerful, in the wrong hands, it comes out really bad. And unfortunately, we have, especially online, we're swamped and we're overwhelmed with so much content, and most of it is bad. right? Most of it has no soul. It's not authentic. It has no connection to the people that are they're engaging with it. And that's the biggest challenge that I see right now, where you have so many companies that just because they can create content and they can create visuals like Nike. I mean, you could pretty much copy and paste Nike or Amazon or any of whatever, Patagonia, whatever your favorite brand is. You could pretty much copy and paste it and make one that you can use these days, you know, except for copyright. But you could kind of create something. But the question is, does that connect with your audience? Does that represent you? Again, that first part of that diagram. And does it connect with the audience, that second part of that diagram? And these days online, most of the times it's no, because it's generic, it's soulless, and it does not have that authenticity that really is what people look to brands for and helps build the Nikes, Amazons, and Apples of the world. So that soul, that uniqueness is definitely something that's missing right now. And unfortunately, we have a lot of generic stuff out there.
Like faceless?
Faceless, exactly. Faceless, soulless, it's a lot of noise. And contrast to that, people don't have a lot of attention. So, most consumers don't have, or clients or customers don't have the attention that they need. As you mentioned with me, even you like kind of scroll, I saw something and it kind of piqued my interest, and like, right, that's a habit that everyone has right now. And we're being flooded with just so much information. So that's the downside. The opportunity is for companies like Airbnb or even Starbucks, who have really spent years crafting what their brand is, understanding what their customer wants, understanding how the behaviors have changed and expectations have changed. So they spend years outside of technology trying to understand, and they continually do that, so that when they use AI, for instance, it actually accelerates what that they're doing so well. And that ultimately, AI only amplifies and accelerates what you're doing. If you're doing something horribly, it's going to make that, it's going to get that to everyone in the world. If you're doing something well, it's going to get that to everyone in the world and have the impact that you're looking for. So that's the difference. That's where we are right now. And that's both the opportunity and the barrier.
So what is it that you're working on that you could share with us? Or what is it that you'd like us to know going forward as the future comes upon us with branding and AI, and what does one need to be prepared for?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be more and more crowded and noisy out there. Competing for attention is going to get even harder. I mean, it already is, but by 2025, it's definitely going to get that much harder as more people start using AI for not good things. So what I'm working on is with the people that I work with, the clients that I work with, I'm trying to get them both the strategies that I know work regardless of technology. So what are the strategies that I've seen work with clients like Puma, Mercedes Benz, Bayer, when I did their AI projects in 2016. These are all strategies that have worked for years and will continue to work for years, right? And that's agnostic of the time or technology. So getting them to understand those strategies, but then also getting folks to understand the right tools that they need to be using. You shouldn't be using all the tools, and how to use those. So, and I think that is the path to success. Having the right strategy, knowing what you want to do and how you want to do it, and then leveraging the tools that you have at your beck and call in the right way to then get that result that you're looking for. And you can't do everything all at once. So within that context, I have a workshop, 2-day workshop that I've created. It's called the Brand Plus AI Intensive. And I'm working with a number of different clients in 2 days, being able to kind of really understand that strategy, but then understand the tools, get them familiar with those strategies and the tools so that they can start building that brand and have the success that I've seen work for even Bayer when I worked with them in 8 years ago on their first AI project. So we've kind of looking at all the different time and all the different components that I've seen over my 20 years of experience, and I compressed that into a 2-day intensive that I really kind of one-on-one work with brands, and I really kind of help them kind of move through that initial phase of getting the grounding that they need, and then having them be able to measure that, and then we work depending on how we work forward. So again, just trying to make sure that people are using the right tools in the right way, with the right strategies, so that they can see the results both in their business, but then also for their customers and customer base.
So how do they connect with you?
So yeah, I mean, I have a couple of tools and things that I've put together. And one of the main ways that you can connect me, I put together a link that folks can kind of go to, get some of the tools, see some of the things that I'm working with, and that's going to be at thebrandsensei.co. So the Brand Sensei, SENSEI.co /Web3, and that's specifically for the Web3 your Web3 audience, Donna. So if you go to thebrandsensei.co /Web3, you'll see a cheat sheet for creating your differentiating your brand. You'll get access to my weekly newsletter where I share different strategies and tools that I'm seeing working in different developments, and then also some other goodies that I'll put up there for folks. But yeah, a lot of free downloads, and then also you could definitely get in contact with me, and I'm always on social as well.
So, Kofi, this has been exciting to hear the updates, what's going on. And I'm sure our audience will be able to find that on your page on pivotingtoweb3podcast.com. You'll find all those tools and links there. And thank you for listening. We're shaping tomorrow together. We're here to serve. Have a nice day.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for checking in the Pivoting to Web3 podcast. Go to pivotingtoweb3podcast.com to download and listen, or Web3 Game Plan to check out the videos. Thank you. We're shaping tomorrow together.